and welcome to a very special edition of our monthly pitch event. We're thrilled to be bringing you some of the most exciting emerging startups in health and wellness. I'm Tara Lukabaugh, Director of Strategic Initiatives at One Valley, and I will be your host for today. None of this would be possible without you, our One Valley community. So on behalf of the whole One Valley team, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Before we kick it off, I want to tell you a little bit about what we do here at One Valley. One Valley is a global entrepreneurship platform that supports entrepreneurs, accelerates startups, and empowers organizations across the globe that foster innovation communities. Over the past 6 years, One Valley has supported hundreds of startups that have raised over $1 billion. Our mission at One Valley is simple: democratize the resources of Silicon Valley and share them with the global community. We do so through a variety of initiatives, including events like these. Pre-COVID, we were running 80 events a year in person in our various innovation spaces. Today, not only are we running these events virtually, but the online accessibility of them has opened up these opportunities to the world at large. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Passport, our online innovation platform. As you can see, we have over 40,000 members on the Passport platform who access and interact with not only each other, but also dozens of corporate partners, hundreds of investors and mentors, and over $1 million in discounted or free technology tools and services. Use the code HEALTHY25 for 25% off of your premium Passport membership. Click the button at the bottom of your screen for access. If you're not a member yet, I encourage you to check us out and take advantage of this limited time discount. Again, just by clicking the button at the bottom of your screen. Our community of entrepreneurs is growing by the day, so don't miss out. Now, to kick off today's event, I'd like to welcome Nehal Bojak, the General Manager of One Valley's new Pittsburgh office. She's going to join me today for a fireside chat on the technology that's driving the future of digital health. Nehal brings a multidisciplinary background to One Valley with over 20 years of experience in new venture creation, early stage investment, technology commercialization, and corporate innovation. Prior to joining One Valley, she was the managing director of Pittsburgh Creates, and prior to that, she was part of the leadership team at Idea Foundry. As its director of innovation, she led the creation, growth, and operational management of their healthcare and life sciences accelerator and investment programs. She was EIR to over 175 new ventures across diverse industry verticals that cumulatively raised $435 million in follow-up capital, generated $300 million in revenue, and led to acquisitions totaling over 40 million. Today, she'll be sharing some of her experience and insight, as well as what excites her about some of the things on the horizon. So, hey, Nehal, glad you could join us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be part of this event.
I hope everything's going well over at the Pittsburgh Innovation Center.
It is. It's been a busy day, so this is a nice respite from that.
Great. That's great to hear. So let's jump in. Maybe you could first just share a little bit more about your background and maybe some of the work you've done in supporting digital health startups specifically.
Sure. So like you said earlier, I have been part of the startup ecosystem here in Pittsburgh for the last couple of decades. So seen a lot of changes here. Pittsburgh is well known, to be a meds and eds town because of our universities and the health system. But a lot of my work in the last 20 years or so has been revolved around innovation and entrepreneurship. I did run the early stage accelerator and investment fund, specializing in healthcare and life sciences technologies. And my role there, again, as EIR and portfolio executive with very, very early stage companies meant that I really got to be in the trenches with each and every company, helping them address critical business needs around technology commercialization, fundraising, sales, marketing, product strategy, and everything really that you need to get from an idea stage to a growth stage and beyond. Beyond that, I also led an industry-facing innovation center that was part of UPMC, which, as folks from Pittsburgh know, one of the largest integrated delivery networks in Pennsylvania. The group was focused on working with enterprise innovation groups to build, validate, and commercialize medical technologies. So I've been lucky in that I've gotten to see both sides of that coin, first being with the accelerator, working with the producers of really innovative technology, and then being with the health system, getting to really see what the consumers of technology really need. And it's helped me tremendously with making informed investment decisions.
Yeah, definitely sounds like you've gotten to sit at both sides of the table. So I'm excited to hear your perspectives on some of the topics I have ready for you. So maybe to start off, I know we've talked about this before, but I want to share with everyone kind of your thoughts on the role of artificial intelligence in digital health, and how you see data and the use of this AI in mining and in analysis of data, and how that then can translate into more actionable interventions that will ultimately impact patient outcomes.
Sure. So we're at an interesting point today, I think, where, because of the ubiquitous use of sensors and apps and websites that collect information, we have been sitting on tons of data that can be mined and produce tremendous value. I think the big opportunity area is taking that critical mass of data and transforming it first into information and then knowledge. And I think that is what will impact patient outcomes. What I mean by that is, if you take data just by itself, I don't think it's actionable, but if you glean key information from it, it can be. And then when you take critical mass of information and then transform that into kind of knowledge, identifying broader patterns that can help with build prediction models, that's where the long-term value, I feel, starts coming in. So imagine millions of data points that have been collected historically through electronic medical records. And this data, I think AI is so critical in mining this information, getting information that can be used as simply to provide kind of real-time intervention for managing chronic disease, kind of the quick reminders through apps like, hey, your blood pressure is high, you need to reduce your salt intake, through apps and reminders and doctor visits, to something so deeply complex as building drug discovery platforms that can enable scientists and pharmaceutical companies to develop personalized therapeutics that work specifically for an individual's biological makeup. So I think the possibilities are endless, and the value starts building as you take the health data that we have and really personalized it for whatever clinical or patient workflow that you deem is reasonable at that point in time.
Yeah, it's definitely the case that AI is transforming every industry, and it's just a matter of time before it's ubiquitous in healthcare. We talk a lot about how artificial intelligence and other technology innovations kind of impact the trajectory of various industries. And, for example, we talk about how cloud computing has led to huge advancements in other industries. And so I'm wondering, what trends are you most excited to see change the digital health landscape in the near future?
Yeah, definitely the one that kind of, there's so many, but the one that bubbles to the top of the list, especially these days in this environment, is infectious disease management. I think, we've seen in the last year and a half that apps that help with contact tracing in the event of an outbreak, and using that to kind of manage the direction of public health resources and how they're going to be utilized is going to be tremendous. There's a Pittsburgh company that I know of that launched a consumer app. It was called Novid, and it started with contract tracing, but they got so much data with so many people using it that they were able to build prediction models so users could get notified before they've been exposed, so they can take precautions and protect themselves. So I definitely see, the lessons learned from kind of the past pandemic, being utilized for infectious disease and public health management. Another area, another trend is telemedicine. And telemedicine's been around for a decade, but I think we really saw the impact of this during the pandemic with, teleconsults and healthcare kind of not getting compromised, especially for seniors. So I think, the data that has been collected or has been sitting in EMRs for so long can really be utilized both, just to optimize telemedicine, but also larger disease management remotely without anyone having to kind of go in there. A couple of others that are also going to spring to mind is artificial intelligence and augmented reality and virtual reality. I think this is going to have a huge impact in healthcare going forward. They've been used traditionally for video games and the whole Pokemon Go stuff, which has been so popular.
Yeah.
But I think it is being rapidly utilized to train surgical residents, or kind of using that kind of simulated environment to do surgical planning for very complex surgeries, where you want to make sure that things don't go awry in the middle of a surgery. And I think continuing that trend too, just on the surgical kind of device side of things, AI platforms are going to be huge with part of surgical robotics. I think surgical robotics is huge these days, and I think using artificial intelligence to drive democratization of care is going to be tremendously valuable. The idea of collecting, again, tons of data points from surgeries, like surgical videos that have been performed by experienced surgeons, and then have platforms mimic that to provide like semi-autonomous guidance for novice surgeons. These are kind of the few that are, I think I've noticed a lot of in the last in the last year or so.
Yeah, definitely. In the last year or so, I thought it was interesting how you kind of there were some consumer examples there, as well as some B2B examples there on more of the augmented reality surgical planning side. But I think regardless of who the audience is, there is sort of a perception in the startup community that digital health is a risky industry to get into, even more so maybe than therapeutics or medical device. And I'm wondering why. Can you talk about why this is, and what the healthcare industry could do to be more welcoming of early stage startups and this type of innovation?
Sure. So I think the short answer to that is that, and I won't give a short answer, I'll give a really long answer. The short answer is that anywhere we're dealing with data, there is an inherent risk of data breaches. We hear about it all the time, right? In the consumer and retail sectors, the latest one being T-Mobile, it's kind of all over the news these days. And I think it's the same thing with, digital health, whether it's on the device side, whether it's on the app side, electronic medical records, any of that. And I think more so that the risk is even more so with those data breaches, or the risk of data breaches, because startups there are dealing with protected health information. So the liability and, kind of the impact of that is much, much higher, which obviously, creates some sort of concern with both investors and, the health systems too, that are adopting new technologies. And I think it's interesting, because I feel that the relationship between, the digital health adoption and privacy is kind of delicate, because you can't really have digital health without compromising a part of your privacy. So what I mean by that is, again, in order to provide individual personalized results, you have to have, or AI companies or health digital health companies, they have to have access to personal health data. So again, how secure is this data once the companies have it? Like, do we know, how the companies are going to utilize? I think that's a big risk area related to data. But other than that, I think you mentioned earlier the medical device and therapeutic companies. Those are heavily regulated by the FDA. But for digital health, I think there's little to no guidance or regulation in that industry. In fact, it's a really confusing landscape, I feel, where startups might have to report to everyone and no one at the same time from a regulatory standpoint. So, some apps have to adhere to HIPAA and some don't. And the FDA provides broad strokes, but nothing really too detailed, which is kind of confusing. So I think more than, the healthcare industry, I think from a regulation standpoint, I think that's where a lot of the work needs to be done, where, you need better regulation roadmap of what regulations apply to what type of digital health company. I think that would be tremendously helpful from the company's perspective, just to get them looking in the right direction, but also from an investment perspective, where if you're looking as an investor, what kind of due diligence to be looking for and being comfortable with that decision. So I think, that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And I guess my final question is kind of a carry on of that. On the flip side, what advice would you give to an early stage startup that's looking to break into the digital health space?
I love to give advice. So, so I think, everything I've kind of answered, it points to one direction, and that is healthcare is such a big, complex, and fragmented space. So
Mhm.
oftentimes, the beneficiary of your technology or the app or user is not always going to be the economic decision maker. I've seen that to be more true in healthcare than anywhere else. So my biggest piece of advice for a digital startup company is to focus on a segment and to really understand who plays what role in that supply chain. I often hear pitches where they say, oh, company X is going to target the $Y million pain app market. And the question is, who is the customer? Is it the consumer? Is it
Mhm.
the provider or the payer? And I think that is, something that I often kind of find myself when I'm mentoring companies. That's what I find myself really zeroing on.
Yeah.
The other thing related to what I just said earlier about regulatory, kind of landscape, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call the FDA.
Yeah.
Often companies are really afraid
Yeah.
of doing that because they think like, okay, I'm going to be on someone's radar. And that's a mistake because I think that's going to result in several wasted dollars and several hours of just finding, the right channel and then maybe having to revisit. I think if you call early, you will know where to channel your energy. I kind of related to that. Get a great lawyer and consult them first before putting any kind of disclaimers on paper related.
Mhm.
So I think that those are sort of my three top advice pieces to come.
It's great advice. Thanks so much, Nehal. Unfortunately, we are coming up on time, so I can't dig in any further. But I really do appreciate all of your insightful opinions and advice, and just for the great conversation. So really appreciate it. Well, with that, I want to head over to the judging portion of today. And I'll start by introducing our judges. We have surprise Nehal Bojak, who we just heard from, as well as Alec Wright. He's our Chief Product Officer here at One Valley, and together they will be our judging panel for the event this week or this evening. So I want to thank you both for being here, Nehal and Alec, and I want to give you a brief moment to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit, maybe a sneak peek into what you look for in measuring the potential of a digital health company. So maybe Nehal, since we just heard from you, let's have you kick us off with that little bit of insight.
Okay, so I've been talking for a really long time, so I'm going to make it really short. So the first and the biggest thing I look for in a company is how agile they can be and how much of a platform technology it is. And what I mean by that is the healthcare environment keeps changing, regulations keep changing, the sort of payer provider market keeps changing. So I feel companies, especially those in the healthcare space, really need to be agile and be able to pivot and take advantage of an opportunity when they see one, even if that's not the direction they were headed in. And the other kind of thing that I look for, and that's not specific just to healthcare, but I think it is important, especially if the founder of a healthcare startup does not have a healthcare medical background, is a well-rounded team. I think having the right advisors and those that are in the know on this complex, fragmented environment, I think that's really important. So those are my two important kind of criteria.
Thanks, Nehal. Alec, what about you? Could you introduce yourself, please, and share a little bit about what you look for in a digital health company?
Definitely. It's a pleasure to be here today. Really excited to learn about all the companies that are presenting, and big thanks to everyone who is pitching today, and to everyone who's tuning in. I'm Alec Wright. I'm the Chief Product Officer at One Valley, and then also help lead our ventures group, where we do pre-seed and seed investments in a variety of industries, but digital health and wellness, and the transformation, I think reimagining of the healthcare market is something that we're really excited about and active in. And I think Nehal nailed a lot of the core elements that we're always focused on, around team, probably more than anything. But what really gets me excited is the fact that high quality healthcare has historically been limited to an incredibly small part of the population that have really been able to access that. And as we look at teams and technologies that are scaling and, to steal your word, Nehal, democratizing access to high quality care, I just think those are really exciting companies to spend time with. And boy, do we need it more than ever. Because there are more people in more precarious situations than we've ever seen, especially with the rise of COVID. And so new thinking and new solutions are just essential. So really, really exciting to be here, and looking forward to learning more.
Thanks so much, Alec and Nehal. Thank you again, both of you, for joining us today. You have a very difficult task ahead of you. You'll be judging 7 amazing founders on some upcoming pitches today. And unfortunately for you, there can only be one winner. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce our pitching founders. First, we have Robert Page, CEO of Pulse Protocol. Martina Janikova, founder and CEO of Lara Health. Swati Arulguppe, founder and CEO of Better Meal AI. Tim Adamson, co-founder and CTO of COVIDx. Ellie Gordon, CEO and founder of Behavior. Dr. Tal Rapke, CEO and founder of Scalamed. And Sean Higgins, CEO of Better You. A quick reminder of what's at stake tonight. Our grand prize winner will be walking away with $2,000 in cash. The audience choice will win $500 in cash. And as mentioned, each of our winners will also be given a free annual membership to Passport. So quickly, I want to go over all the ways that you as the audience can take part in the action today. First, please ask questions to our pitching startups in the chat. If we do have time, we'll get to them. Next, please rate each startup after their pitch. Your votes will be tallied to determine the Audience Choice Award. And by rating, you yourself will be entered into a raffle for the chance to win 1 free year of Passport. Finally, if you'd like to connect with any of our pitching startups, ask for an introduction through the Meet the Startups tab at the top of the page. So with that, I would like to welcome our first presenter, Robert Page, CEO of Pulse Protocol, to the virtual stage.
Thank you, Tara, and to the rest of the One Valley team for the invitation. Hi, I'm Robert Page, and I am the founder of Pulse Protocol. Pulse is a software marketing platform that gives doctors and hospitals a comprehensive solution to professionally manage and grow their medical travel businesses. Simply put, Pulse helps doctors generate predictable revenue streams and ensures patients get better, transparent healthcare. To execute on this thesis, we have secured an exclusive partnership on the co-founder level with the Medical Tourism Association. They are the thought leaders of the industry, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. First, I want to share a quick story. So I come from a family of doctors, and in 2014, my father was diagnosed with cancer and given a grim prognosis. Our best chance was to travel abroad for treatment, and thanks to our network of connections and my 14 years of experience in global healthcare, we found the care that he needed. And this was, of course, a huge win for me and my family. But it wasn't easy. And as you can imagine, we finally did figure it out at the end after calling multiple doctors and hospitals and waiting around for a long time and getting ghosted by a few. But we realized at the end that if we had such a difficult time being doctors to find great care and get adequate help, then all the logistics and everything that was involved, less experienced people would be completely left in the dark. And all these difficulties and lessons led us to build Pulse. There's already a massive industry in place that generates over $100 billion a year and has 16 million patients traveling annually to and from all corners of the globe for medical care. Interestingly, though, this only represents 8% of the patients that are actively seeking solutions outside their hometown. Most find that it's just too difficult and they give up, and that's understandable. And that's really because the medical travel industry is untouched by technology. It's highly fragmented, informal. Doctors and patients are connecting through SMS, mobile, phone, emails. I've actually seen doctors hospitals use spreadsheets to manage their patients, which is pretty crazy, given the security things that Nehal just spoke about. Our solution is a highly scalable software marketing platform to bridge and nurture the patient-provider relationship. Similar to platforms like Airbnb and Uber, Pulse is an interactive ecosystem where exponential value is created and exchanged. So I want to walk you through how it works here. First and foremost, patients enter into the Pulse platform via different users. Using our algorithm, patients will actually match up with a gig economy independent nurse coordinator. Nurses then connect patients via the platform. Everything's completely on the platform and managed there, including medical files, uploads, record sharing, phone calls, telehealth calls, etc. The doctor then approves the patient, provides a quote, and the patient then pays on the Pulse platform. At the end, Pulse then pays out all the different stakeholders according to the contribution they made in the marketplace. Any doctor or hospital or clinic can join Pulse as long as they're qualified. We monetize by charging platform fees. We sell leads to our users, and we charge subscription fees to our supportive marketing services. We also license our software to enterprises, and we are currently in the final stages of a 7-figure deal with 2 Fortune 500 companies to manage patients doing big pathologies from different countries around the world into the top hospitals in the United States. It's a very exciting deal we have coming together. Pulse is now since 2019, we're in 15 different international destinations. We have 32 hospitals, 103 doctors, 9 coordinators live on the platform. 13 are paid accounts, which means they are paying for marketing services and they pump leads into our ecosystem. As far as the team goes, I personally have 20 years of industry experience. I've written 3 different books on the subject. I've facilitated tens of thousands of patient-doctor connections, and I've helped multiple medical travel companies grow, as well as a couple of my own. Jonathan Renee Marie, Jonathan Renee Marie each have 16 years of experience building the Medical Tourism Association, Global Health Resources, and Global Health Accreditation. Their organizations host the global conferences, publish the global journals, and they set the global standards. They have exclusive relationships with Cleveland Clinic and a lot of the biggest hospitals in the world. They also maintain a global audience of 800,000 subscribers, and the MTA's involvement with Pulse is a huge competitive advantage for us. So in conclusion, Pulse has revenue, we have a proven business model, we have well-oiled acquisition channels, unique competitive advantages, and a management team with 50 years of combined experiences just on the medical tourism side alone. Our technologist, who I didn't mention there, has 20 years of experience building technology. He's phenomenal as well. Today, we're raising $4 million in a seed round to essentially grow the company and to get this to every doctor and hospital on the planet. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks so much, Robert, for the great presentation. I want to head over to our judges for some Q&A. So maybe, Alec, would you like to kick us off?
Definitely. Robert, thank you so much for sharing some background on Pulse Protocol. Do you mind just taking a moment and walking me through the various revenue streams and who the stakeholder is and kind of like what a customer journey looks like a B2B customer journey looks like from first touch point with Pulse until they're kind of fully in your engagement and revenue cycle?
Yeah, so we have different types of customers, but our primary customer would be a hospital. In that hospital, let's say it's Cedars-Sinai, they would essentially get a free access to our account. They can bring patients onto the platform. They can use our end-to-end technology solution, which enables them to engage with international patients. They can even utilize our independent marketplace of individual nurse coordinators that pay on demand. And now that's the free account. But if a doctor or hospital wanted to actually generate growth or drive traffic to the platform, we have marketing tools that we give them, templated landing pages, email sequences that they utilize to be able to then invest in a digital marketing program to generate traffic toward their patients. Pulse takes a fee for every time anybody transacts on the platform. We also take an additional fee if we're the ones that source the lead, which we do source quite a bit of leads and we sell them in the marketplace. The subscription model for the marketing services has a one-time fee of anything from $1,000 to $3,000 and a monthly fee of anything from $1,000 to $2,000 of management. That's for storage and everything else. And then the last part of it is the licensing fee. This deal we have going through is essentially to create a replica of Pulse and give it to them, put their name on it, branded, and then they would be able to manage this for their international audience. We would drive the management side of it, payments and everything else. And that's a lot to say, but that's pretty much all the revenue opportunities for us right now.
So there's free access to the marketplace, and you make money off transactions that occur there, and then healthcare providers can kind of upgrade to more premium services on that marketplace, be it marketing or qualified leads that they're transacting on, and then paying more for. And then there's a private label version of this that you sell as a SaaS. Is that the right way to kind of think about it?
Precisely. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you, Robert. I'll throw it over to Nehal.
Okay, so I had a two-part question. One was, you mentioned earlier, that you are kind of using the gig economy model, right? Where any nurse, any doctor, anywhere can kind of join that network of providers. How do you, so I guess first part of my question is, how does that kind of translate if someone has a specific employer agreement and, licensing capability within one state? How does that translate to an international market? And related to that is, how do you handle malpractice and kind of insurance liability type of issues for somebody that is licensed to, say, work in Pennsylvania, and they're going to be providing expertise in, I don't know, India, for example?
Are you speaking of the self-insured market, like people that are actually insured?
No. I was referring to kind of, at least the way I understood it, that the way you're building this network of kind of providers and influencers is by having any nurse, any practitioner, doctor join the network, right? And
right.
Build this giant network. So my thought was, or my question was, if somebody is licensed to provide care in Pennsylvania, how is that licensing handled if they are providing care, advice, intervention, what have you, in a completely different state or country? And then, kind of, I guess, the related malpractice or insurance type of issues related to that.
Yeah, well, we've never had an issue with patients traveling from one country to another. There's no legislation that blocks that or prohibits that. That's free. It's it's independent. People are paying cash. They're not. This isn't through an insurance network. But as far as so that answers that. As far as the complication or as far as the malpractice, we are fully insured there. But even then, we have done everything we can with our lawyers, which was a great advice you made earlier, is to have lots of lawyers. And, we don't ever recommend, we don't advise, we're not telling you where to go. This is simply a technology service. The doctors are all required to demonstrate that they have malpractice insurance, that they have no malpractice events that are pending or in existence. So we're very careful. We have a medical board of 4 US and Canadian doctors that also review every single doctor and applicant to the platform. So it's not anybody can join. They must be licensed and registered and with insurance.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Nehal, and thank you, Alec. And of course, thank you, Robert. So with that, I'd like to head over to our next presenter. Up next, we have Martina Janikova, founder and CEO of Lara Health. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Hello, my name is Martina Janikova, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lara Health. And we are building a care delivery optimization platform that leverages automation and AI to maximize revenue for independent medical practices. Half of primary care doctors in America are smaller doctor-owned clinics who practice medicine the old way, appointment-based care, having patients visit as the only revenue stream they know. Most of these doctors are unaware there are new care models that became recently reimbursable, which would allow them to unlock new significant revenue streams without actually working more. A virtual care program like remote patient monitoring can add $500,000 a year to a doctor by simply enrolling 10% of their existing patients into the program. If you're not familiar how remote patient monitoring works, instead of coming to see a doctor in their practice to measure blood pressure or your glucose level, patients would use monitoring devices such as blood pressure monitors and glucose meters that are able to share their readings back with the clinical team real time seamlessly. And clinical teams would use Lara Health platform to access the patient's data. But these new care models don't come without challenges. Implementing something new takes additional admin burden and cost, and it often prevents these smaller practices from implementing these care models or scaling it significantly. Lara Health platform truly addresses the needs of our end customer. We are building a multi-care platform that is supporting many care models, not just the remote patient monitoring I mentioned before. And what that means is we can unlock multiple revenue streams at once from one place. We are leveraging automation and AI to eliminate admin burden and human errors and allow our customers to scale fast and efficiently, which is really important to our customers. We are also incorporating digital therapeutic programs that for smaller practices, our customers allow to deliver care and ongoing patient engagement virtually at scale. And I believe we have the best team to do the job. I spent the past 9 years in digital health company in the digital health sector. I actually launched one of the first remote patient monitoring platforms back in 2016. And I spent 4 years of designing, testing, and clinically proving some of the patient engagement programs that are necessary to make a platform successful. My co-founder, Kevin, is an expert in his field. He spent the past 7 years building similar automation tools for the financial sector, and we have a terrific team of advisors to help us to go along, such as the previous CEO and founder of Cardio. We have an expert on revenue and reimbursements in the healthcare private sector, and we also have a medical advisor to ensure that we are building the right tools for doctors that will find easy to use. Our core solution and the first module that we've built on our health platform is remote patient monitoring. So we consider remote patient solutions our closest competitor, at least for now. And there are many remote patient solutions out there. They are not addressing the needs of our customer segments. They're either built for hospitals that operate very differently and don't offer the features that our customer requires, or the solutions are very new and inadequate. We are a SaaS platform. We generate revenue by charging our doctors, our customers, $15 per patient per month, and we expect to make about $50,000 a year in annual recurring revenue per doctor. We have early revenue. We soft launched in January this year. We closed July with 10 paying customers and $100,000 in ARR. I'm pleased to share that August is shaping up the best sales month for us so far. We closed 6 new accounts to date this month. And we believe that this is the best time to scale Lara Health and a solution as we have. And for that, we're seeking $1 million in funding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martina. Let's head over to Nehal and Alec for questions. Nehal, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you so much, Martina. It was a great presentation. I was very pleased to see that you have a reimbursement consultant on your team. So the question's related to that. Can you talk to me a little bit about your broader reimbursement strategy? How do the top doctors get reimbursed using your platform? Is there a benefit to using your platform? Do they get, more money by using your platform versus not?
Absolutely. Thank you. Fantastic question. And actually, the reimbursement piece is really our secret sauce and a huge benefit. So we realize that the complexities of the reimbursements are large. And if you have a small practice that usually has one biller who is completely unfamiliar with these reimbursements, it's impossible for them to do it manually. Imagine that somebody has 500-800 patients. These are recurring reimbursements. These patients will qualify for these reimbursements every single month, but they are going to be different. And You start building on the remote patient monitoring piece. Now we have chronic care management, which has a whole different list of reimbursements. We are adding telehealth. We are adding some digital tools. We are really working on broadening the list of reimbursements that our customers could achieve through the platform. It's frankly humanly impossible. And so what we have done is we've built an automation platform that is constantly checking for every single requirement for every of these reimbursements. And so we are the platform that can say, you get paid with us more, you get paid with us for every minute, because we can actually automate that. So no human error and no delays in payment, because this is a real-time billing engine as well.
Great, thank you.
Alec, any questions? Oh, sorry.
No, definitely. Congrats on the early traction. It looks really exciting. Maybe two questions. First is, do you feel like you're out there educating the market about the opportunity for independent practitioners to be, billing into this whole new world of, reimbursable digital health? Or do you feel like the independent practitioners understand that, and they're just like searching desperately for the tool that's going to let them actually do that? Like, what are you seeing in the market?
No clue this exists. No clue how to bill for it. Lack of belief they will actually get the money. So really our early success was getting early pilots, letting them use the platform for free, generating the revenue. And we were lucky because our two first pilot customers already had a remote patient monitoring platform before, and they couldn't bill. They couldn't figure out how to bill a customer who had remote patient monitoring for a whole year before they piloted us. They didn't bill one CPT codes. They just couldn't figure it out. And that was really the bait. We said, look, use us for free, use us with few customers, and we'll show you how we are going to make you money, and you don't have to hire additional staff. And that's how we really get them in. And that's how we scaled, because yes, there is a lot of education that still goes in it. 9 out of 10 doctors we talk to, they're like, what? We've never heard of this. Then they ask the billers, and the billers said, we've never heard of these CPT codes. So yes, there is a lot of education. But these early case studies and having approved that there is a lot of money to be made really helped us with the recent wins.
No, it makes sense. And I guess maybe it's kind of a segue off of that, which it makes complete sense that decreasing the friction for independent practitioners to come on the platform and start generating ROI makes a lot of sense. How does pricing grow, or does it grow with them, in the sense that, like, if an independent practitioner makes $200,000 in additional revenue versus $500,000, do they pay the same, or is it driven by their ROI?
So right now we have a flat fee, $15 per patient per month. Is just because we started with remote patient monitoring. We added the chronic care management piece. We will be raising prices, and it's going to be dependent. Exactly what you said. We make them more money, they'll have to pay us a little bit more, but it's going to be as we add additional care models and bring their revenues up.
Right. No, it makes a lot of sense. I think it's super exciting to be able to get them on and started with low amounts of cost, and then scale with their digital practice. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martina, and thank you to our judges. Before we move on, I want to give a quick reminder to our audience. Please rate each startup at the bottom of your screen for your chance to be entered to win a free Passport membership. Your votes will decide our Audience Choice Award. So these are some very valuable votes. You can go ahead and click on each company name, rate all 7 companies presented, and at the end of the event, scores will be tallied to determine our Audience Choice Award. Without further ado, up next, we have Swati Arulgupte, founder and CEO of BetterMeal AI. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Swati Arulgupte Nagendra, and I'm the founder of BetterMeal AI. So a few years ago, I was suffering from a lot of health issues. I used many existing health applications, but most of them just focus on weight loss or disease management and did not provide any food-based treatment plans for specific health issues. And also gut test kits was very expensive. Although being in a family full of doctors, I really felt helpless. After a lot of research, I realized that all diseases start in the gut. Vitamins and drugs are just like band-aids and do not address the root cause of the health issue, which is gut health. And also there are biased prescriptions from doctors and nutritionists. Mission is simple: precise nutritional recommendations based on gut health to treat chronic health issues without dependency on any external test kits. Better Meal AI is a mobile application that provides precise nutritional solutions that addresses the root cause of the health issues, which is gut health, without any gut test kits. So tracking gut health through biomarker sequencing from blood reports and optional stool test reports, we calculate the saturation of specific biomarkers, and we then provide the integrity report of the person's gut. Having this as the baseline, we start recommending nutrition that is suitable for the person. So the global healthcare market is projected to be more than $110 billion by 2025, with a 16 billion serviceable market. Better Meal AI has a share of 1 billion market for personalized health solutions. Our target demographic is individuals suffering from specific health conditions, which include thyroid, IBD, diabetes, PCOS, and celiac diseases. We have performed clinical trials with 500K patients and rapid advances in biomarker sequencing that gives us the link between the microbiomes and disease progression. So for our beta, we analyzed 127 thyroid patients, 43 PCOS, 51 diabetes patients for over 6 months following our meal plan. And most of them had stabilized hormonal excursions after the first month, and it stayed consistent for 6 months. Also, 23% of the PCOS patients had reversed their condition at the end of 6 months. Our product is based on a deep learning model that understands the medical conditions, the recent complete blood count results, optional stool test results with the gut health quiz. Once it gets this data, it calculates the thresholds of specific biomarkers to understand the body's inflammation index. And based on this, it starts recommending the precise nutrition. Some of our competitors who provide nutritional recommendations without a gut health focus are Noom, MyFitnessPal, Lark, Lucid, etc. Some others provide nutritional recommendations based on gut test kits like Viome, Thrive, Day2, Atlas Nutrition, etc. Better Meal AI bridges this gap. Our competitive advantage is our tailored nutritional treatments for specific health issues that would help reverse the disease progression, unlike general food recommendations. We use a subscription-based model with a 30-day free trial and premium features available for specific health targets. Our $5.99 per month and $59.99 per year for a better level of personalization compared to private nutritionists or the gut test kits is very appealing. For the pre-launch, we did an announcement email to our entire waitlist, highlighting some success stories we've had in the beta phase. Also, we have partnered with a lot of podcasts and influencers for promoting our product. Here is a little excited me talking about our product in a recent podcast. Our team consists of AI technologists, gut scientists, doctors, and nutritionists who have researched for more than 1,000+ hours in gut health and disease progression analysis. Our advisors are from Google, Airbnb, and Forbes, who are helping us validate the technology. We are in the private beta phase with more than 350 beta users and less than 6% customer churn. We have more than 22,000 user signups without any paid acquisitions. Our survey with the beta users reported overall 62% of them having improved their symptoms. Our vision is to go beyond medicines and empower people to lead a healthy lifestyle through functional nutrition. We would require a strong development and marketing team to help us scale the application, and our ask is 1 million to realize this potential. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Swati. I would like to pass it over to Alec first. Do you have any questions, Alec?
Definitely, and congrats on that. The results of the beta. That's great. It's great clinical efficacy. It's exciting to see that. Can you just walk me through what a new user experience looks like as to how you get to the level of biomarker data that you need, kind of without requiring a test kit, and kind of how that value chain develops?
Sure. So once a new user signs up on our product, the first thing we would request is certain onboarding steps, which include, like a particular blood test, which is the complete blood count blood test. And if they have a stool test, like report, that's great. Otherwise, it's okay. They can get started with this initial blood test. And after that, we have a set of like 40 questions in our gut health quiz. This is to better understand how the gut health is. So once the user answers these questions and uploads the required tests, our algorithm calculates the threshold of the biomarkers. It comes up with a sequence which helps us understand the inflammation index. So there might be inflammation in particular areas which is actually causing the whole issue to aggravate. So we capture that and we provide food to exactly work on that particular inflammation to reverse that, and in turn reverse the disease.
Got it. And so you're using kind of a commodity or off-the-shelf blood test kit, and your secret sauce is your ability to analyze that data and do something, or is this a proprietary blood test capability?
Well, I think one thing here is we don't want users to go and get like a blood test done as and then. So 85% of Americans who have an insurance, health insurance, get the complete blood count blood test at least like once in the year. We just want access to that particular blood test. So we are not providing any blood tests like out from the hand or any external test kits. We are actually using whatever the user has and providing the results.
Got it. Super helpful. That's great to understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nehal, over to you. Any questions?
Yes. So my questions are related also. I mean, so that was very helpful, that context, that I guess the blood test that someone does, a blood work panel that's been recommended by a doctor, they're going to self-input that into your app, and you're going to use that data to kind of, provide your recommendations or intervention, I guess, right? So how do you take into account, because you have only that one data point, right, which is the blood work. How do you take into account, interfacing your intervention or recommendations with those of the doctors by taking into account things like comorbidities or drug-to-drug interactions or anything that is in the background that you probably don't have access to because you don't have access to their entire health record, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nehal, your voice was breaking a little bit, but I get the context of the question.
I can repeat it if you want me to.
So what we are trying to do here is, can you hear me? Sorry about the...
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so to just prove this only, we have done clinical trials with 500,000 patients after partnering with the hospital called Lifeline Hospitals in India. So we are targeting only specific health issues in here, and all our clinical trial was involved in validating what we are providing solution for today. That is like, can we get the most information, from these biomarkers from that particular complete blood count results and the stool tests available to start recommending people any, non-inflammatory foods and help them reverse the condition. So we could do it with these particular health issues, and there were like a lot of biomarkers which are very important in CBC that actually gave us a lot of context about the gut health, and it did give us a lot of context about where the inflammation is happening more. So what we tried to do was we tried to come up with we did trials on coming up with the biomarker sequence that gives us like a lot of information about where the inflammation is happening more, and we could validate that. So when we compared these particular patients who were suffering from a particular health issues, they following the meal plan for 6 months, and we compared them to the patients who were not following the meal plans, and we could see like a major difference. So for us, moving even one needle was really a success. But here we had a huge indicator where we had almost 78% success, where people were following meal plan, and we did see the biomarkers improving, the values improving what we wanted to see, and versus the group of people who did not follow the meal plans. So once after we validated the study, that is when we started to build the product. And now we have like our beta users who, again, this was like a second success indicator for us with the successful beta release.
Cool. Okay, thanks. I have one more question if we have time, sorry. Since this is a subscription model and it's a direct to consumer app, how will you ensure that the customer keeps coming back? How are you going to ensure stickiness for the product?
Great question. I think engagement was something what I was worried about initially, but here is one thing. So people who are using our app are using it because they have a need to either reverse their condition. They've been helpless, they've been suffering from a long time, and they have a need, and that is when they have started to use our app. So with our beta users, we never had any issues with engagement, and that's the reason we have like a very low churn rate, and it has stayed consistent. So like again, our consumers are people who really have like that huge need to actually reverse their condition and to take like right steps to correct it. So like that is the reason people are still using it. We have like low churn rates, and like we had a second beta with almost like 10,000 users now, and then like the churn rate is still low. It's been like a month after the second beta release, and the churn rate is still low, but we want to validate it after like 3 months.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Congrats again.
Yeah, thank
on all
you.
the success.
Thank you so
And thank
much.
you to our judges. Moving on to our next presenter, it is my pleasure to welcome Tim Adamson, co-founder and CTO of COVIDx, to our virtual stage.
Hello, I'm Tim, and my co-founders are Yao and Song, and together we are COVIDx. As COVIDx, we're transforming the diagnosis and treatment of sickle cell disease using computer vision. So our story began back in 2018 when Yao was a doctor in Ghana, and he saw patient after patient come to him that probably had sickle cell disease but couldn't afford the sickle cell diagnostic test. And because of that, they weren't able to get the treatment that they desperately needed. Yao saw this happen again and again and again. And it turns out that there's actually 30 million people across the world that have sickle cell. And most of them are in Africa because it's predominantly in the Black community, but you do have a lot of people in America as well. Each year, there's around 200,000 children that die just because they can't afford the sickle cell diagnostic test. 200,000. Now, in America, where people are able to afford the sickle cell diagnostic test, you still have people living 33 years shorter, spending over 13 days a year in the hospital, and spending between $1 to $9 million a year $1 to $9 million in lifetime treatment costs because you don't have any good monitoring solutions. Now, we know this is a huge problem, but we also know that we're the team to solve it. We have Yao with his MD doing his PhD in biomedical engineering at Berkeley, Song with her MBA from Yale and a really rich background in bringing much needed resources to marginalized communities, and me doing my PhD in computer science at Yale in computer vision, machine learning, and AI. And together, we are building the solution, which is an affordable and accurate point of care diagnostic and monitoring tool that's using computer vision. So compared to the current standard, we bring the time for results down from 2 days to less than a minute, the cost down from $63 to less than $2 a test, and we add in the monitoring component, which the current solutions just don't have. Now, as for how it works, we take a sample of blood from the patient, put it into our proprietary cartridge, put the cartridge into the device images it to get these 3D phase images like the ones seen here, which are then passed through our deep learning models, which then determine whether or not the patient has sickle cell disease or not. And if they do, then it gives you the health of the red blood cells used for monitoring. Those results are then displayed on the screen of the device to be seen by the healthcare professional and to impact many clinically relevant decisions. So far, Yao built the microscope in his apartment because the labs at Berkeley were shut down because of COVID. We collected a bunch of data there. We were recently awarded the NSF STTR grant, and we've received around $2 million in LOIs from companies in hospitals in Ghana. In the coming months, we'll be raising our seed round of funding for about $1.5 million. And they'll be using that money to then take our devices and send them to our clinical partners at the University of Cape Coast in Ghana, as well as the University of Connecticut for a lot more data collection and improving our models. We'll be selling across sub-Saharan Africa to governments, NGOs, hospitals, selling the device at cost, and then the cartridges on a subscription basis. So most of our profits will be coming from the cartridges. The software will come loaded on the device, but then it also improves over the course of time as we collect more data and improve our models. This is a huge market with the red blood cell disease testing projected to be about 14 billion by 2026. And though we're starting with sickle cell, because this is a platform technology, we can really easily expand to other blood morphological diseases like malaria, thalassemia, spherocytosis. So there's a lot of impact to be made, but also a lot of money. Now, we'd love to invite you to join us and our many partners in making this happen and transforming the diagnosis and treatment of sickle cell disease using computer vision. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Tim. All right, over to our judges. Nehal, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I'm truly impressed with that, going through that entire workflow in less than a minute. That has to be tremendously valuable. So my questions were around kind of the device itself. I understand it's a point of care test device, right? Like it provides that diagnostic really quickly, rapidly. Mm-hmm. So once you do that, what is the next step in that workflow? Does it help with early intervention? Does it help with, kind of more accurate diagnosis, or a combination of both?
Yeah, that's a great question. So especially across sub-Saharan Africa, it's because you don't have newborn screening for sickle cell currently. A lot of children, their parents just never find out that they have sickle cell, and they get sick. They have no clue what it is, no clue what to do. There's a lot of simple, affordable solutions, which if they do put into practice, then that'll help the child live through their first 5 years and then on to a much longer life. And these are things just like drinking a lot of waters. There's a few over-the-counter drugs, which are pretty easily accessible that they need to be taking. But a lot of times they just have no clue that the child has sickle cell. They think they just get sick all the time. And so then they often end up dying by the age of 5 because of that.
Very cool. And how is it regulated? So is this going to be, if you're going with sickle cell, is it considered to be like an orphan indication? Would you get like a quick, or humanitarian kind of device exemption? Like, can you accelerate that regulatory process through the FDA?
Yeah, so our plan with regulation, we're actually planning on launching in sub-Saharan Africa first, partly because the regulatory process there is a lot faster. And because the diagnosis is kind of the key element there that's just desperately needed right now. So we can launch there. The regulatory process we think will take about 3 to 6 months, which, as you know, is a lot faster than the FDA. So that'll also get us, selling there, making profits, and then getting a lot of data, and then to improve our models and stuff. While at the same time, we'll be going through the FDA in the US. And it is an orphan disease in the US. So we'll be going through the FDA here, class 2 medical device, that kind of thing. And then as soon as we've gone through the FDA in the US, then we'll be able to launch here. Both the diagnosis, but especially the monitoring component in the US is what's going to be most valuable here. And that's kind of tracking the health of patients with sickle cell disease over the course of their lives so that they can make better both treatment and lifestyle decisions to reduce the number of these excruciatingly painful sickling episodes that they have.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
But it's great to see the progress. I remember seeing this pitch maybe a year ago at the Entrepreneurship World Cup or something like that, and so it's really exciting to see how much further you've gotten things down the line. Obviously, if there's a way to scale this technology, the opportunity is just unbelievable. I'm curious from your perspective, what's going to be the hardest thing, or what's the biggest likely obstacle that would stop you from going in, scaling this 100x over the next 10 years? What do you need to really get right?
Regulatory process in America is quite challenging and a lot of work. thankfully in sub-Saharan Africa, that's a lot easier, but then you're kind of, navigating with governments, especially as a lot of the hospitals across many African countries are owned by the government. So that's one thing that we've kind of spent a lot of time thinking about, brainstorming about, what key relationships do we need in the governments? How do we get those? Which people do we need on the ground there? Because if we have government buy-in, especially since, like sickle cell is such a huge problem across most of Africa, if we have government buy-in, then, this can scale really quickly. Whereas if the government, if we don't have that, that could be a huge detriment. So that's definitely one thing that we've been thinking through a lot. And I mean, thankfully, since Yao is from Ghana, he has, a lot of connections and family and friends and stuff. So that's been hugely helpful, but that's still one thing we kind of always have in the back of our minds.
Got it. And if there was, as you're looking to raise this capital, if there's one milestone that you're hoping to hit with that would like define success and you think unlock the next stage of growth, what is that milestone?
Yeah, I'd say it's the monitoring component, because we're the first ones to make this, component for monitoring sickle cell. It can be used in a variety of ways, but one is to see the relationship between the health of someone's red blood cells as determined by these images of the red blood cells, and then like how long they end up staying in the hospital or when the next sickling crisis is going to happen. Because then if we can detect, if we can say, hey, we've been tracking the health of your red blood cells over the course of the past 5 months, and it's going down, and you need to switch up your treatment so that you don't have this sickling crisis. And then they can actually do that. That would be huge. Because especially across America and the whole world, and that just isn't a thing right now.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Alec.
Thanks so much, Tim, and thank you, judges. With that, we're ready to move on to our next presenter. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Ellie Gordon, CEO and founder of Behavior, to the virtual stage. Ellie, could you please unmute and turn on your video? We're not seeing you.
Hi. I'm Ellie Gordon. I'm the founder and CEO of Behavior. And Behavior is a digital wellness company that's headquartered in Pittsburgh and uses behavioral health technology and wearables for relapse and overdose prevention. We help people stay on track with their recovery process by providing the right intervention at the right time in real time. And we help care providers better serve their clients. Our initial focus is opioids, including prescription pain pills, heroin, and fentanyl. The number of deaths from opioid overdose is increasing globally due to COVID-19, and the opioid crisis is the deadliest drug epidemic in American history. Drug overdose is the leading cause of accidental death in the US, and this is a global problem that doesn't discriminate by zip code, income, or career. The propensity for returning to drug use or relapsing is high, and historically, the tools to fight substance use disorders have been limited and retrospective. The cost of addiction is $800 billion annually in the US alone, and relapse often leads to a costly downward spiral that includes lost productivity, criminal justice costs, and healthcare costs. So this significantly impacts everyone, regardless of whether or not they or someone they know is battling addiction. By the time a traditional intervention occurs, people are often already reusing. Validated through our IRB-approved clinical research studies funded by the National Institutes of Health, our tool has been shown to provide reduced relapse rates, increased bodily and cognitive awareness, improved sleep habits, defined stress states, detected relapse risk states, and allows for more timely responses for at-risk individuals. Meet Recovery, a guardian angel on your wrist. We have a new completed mobile and web app that will start helping patients next month. We use AI-enabled predictions of upcoming pre-relapse events, as well as detailed summaries of the assessment of a patient's state at a fine-grained level. Optionally, alerting of care providers and support networks of high probability risk events can be added to trigger an active intervention from a support network. Our new dashboard system enables care providers such as treatment centers and recovery homes or transitional living homes to utilize end user pre-approved HIPAA compliant remote monitoring and connection with people in recovery, many of whom are presently more deeply struggling from societal safety and location barriers due to COVID-19. Recovery provides real-time data about a user's health and participation in their recovery from opioid use disorder. We report key statistics to care providers, including adherence to medication-assisted therapy, emotional health, sleep, stress, and participation in mitigation techniques. These metrics are predictive of future potential relapse. People in recovery gain a mechanism by which they can report emergencies to their care providers, as well as being offered interventions to limit their chances of craving and recovery, including suggestions for additional sleep and tools like meditation to decrease stress. They have a gamified mechanism for reporting medication adherence that actively recruits the dopamine reward system to enjoy participation in their own recovery, as well as the ability to track things like treatment appointments. Here's a hypothetical example. Meet Amy. Amy is abstinent and in recovery, but then her father passes away. Now her sleep is off, she's skipping her therapy appointments, she has a racing heart, and she can't stop thinking about using again. Our system detects her physiological and behavioral patterns and shows Amy a photo of her daughter without relapsing. The beauty of our technology is that it's completely customizable. Different interventions work for different people. We will also detect overdoses to give quicker access to life-saving medications like naloxone. Here's one of our device applications, and we are device agnostic. Our tool will be used in our pilot studies next month with a national treatment center chain that prioritizes evidence-based care. Through a SaaS B2B model, we will serve people in recovery as end users and their care providers as customers. Behaviors Recovery System also serves care providers in a plethora of ways, including delivering better care at the right time, improving outcomes in terms of sustained sobriety of residential and outpatient clients, and improved traceability and retention of outpatient clients after the 30 to 60-day rehab, which is when relapse is most likely to occur during gaps in care. And our service will pay for itself. One of our champions, the late Dr. Neil Capretto, said, if a solution helped people stay in treatment longer, we would pay for it. We have a diverse, accomplished team who are passionate about using technology to solve problems. Behaviors comprise of experts with professional backgrounds, including AI and machine learning, design, software engineering, addiction science, business, and wearables. We also won the Carnegie Science Award last year, and I'm a finalist for the Athena Award that recognizes exceptional women who demonstrate excellence in their profession and contribute to their community and help other women and girls succeed through mentorship. My team member made me put that in. Behavior is currently coordinating pilots with multiple treatment centers, and through the support of NIH and NSF, we completed successful clinical studies and market validation. In our addition to our outpatient paid pilot with the large national chain, we are in discussions for an inpatient pilot with a multi-state care provider, and we've received interest to provide services with providers around the world and are looking for funding to support scaling. Behavior is determined to end the opioid crisis, the deadliest drug epidemic in American history, and Recovery, our patent pending platform, acts as a guardian angel on your wrist using a wearable device and mobile and web application that monitors physiological and activity data for individuals in recovery from substance misuse and other mental health struggles. Using AI, our solution augments the current reactive treatment model by predicting and providing intervention for relapse before it becomes too late. A tool that's especially critical to deploy during the COVID-19 pandemic when access to medical care and social support is diminished. Behavior Solution will soon be expanding beyond opioids to use this pattern detection AI and intervention technology to enable individuals to change any unwanted behavior on their terms in a way that works best for them. This includes other addictions, PTSD, and suicidal ideation, and overeating and healthy food choices. If we can successfully tackle this opioid challenge, it can be used for other life-saving solutions as well. Our goal is to democratize addiction recovery and help people live better lives. We are looking for funding opportunities, strategic partners, collaborators, and anyone interested in conducting a pilot with us. With your help, we will provide the best tools to help keep people in recovery on the right track. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ellie, and congratulations on the progress. I'd like to throw it over to Alec to kick us off for judging questions.
Sure, Ellie, thanks so much for sharing some more about the work you're doing. It's personally very exciting to me to see new solutions being developed here, because I think this is an epidemic that touches just everybody. And so it's great to see the effort and the resources that are going into this. I'd love to understand a little bit more how you get this in the hands of patients. And is it predominantly through recovery care centers that are just like 1000% focused on, providing care to people that are going through recovery, or is it a broader healthcare system that you need to interact with and sell into?
So through our the NIH Innovation Corps program that we completed, not this past thing, but the prior one, we found that our beachhead market is, in addition to treatment centers that provide substance use disorder care, there are actually also recovery homes and transitional living homes, which provide different levels of care. They may or may not provide MAT or therapeutic services, but they provide residential care, perhaps counseling, group therapy, things like that. And we're using a SaaS B2B model. So right now, we provide this system through care providers, whether it's in a clinical setting or in the residential setting mentioned with the recovery homes.
That's great to understand. And I guess, just so I understand the incentive structure, I imagine that not only because it is the right thing to do, but all of these treatment centers have a huge financial incentive to keep people in recovery and in the program, because that's what they're being reimbursed and paid for. And so this is actually, am I thinking about it right, that this is something that they use as a tool to keep people kind of in their core reimbursement program? Right. And so actually, we actually had the large chain that we're working with now, they actually reached out to us, and they've been looking for a tool like ours, because payers are now, thankfully, really focusing more in on value-based care. Some of the reimbursements are tied to those elements of value-based care, but without metrics, they're not able to show what progress they're making and what accomplishments they have. So this is a means to increase reimbursements additionally for providers, and things like gaps in care, which is when relapse and overdose is most likely to occur, happen when people are disconnected from their providers. And when that happens, there's a lot of red tape, and people often end up within a different provider where their information is actually lost. So it's a problem that is it's prevented people from receiving the best care. No, thank you.
So, I just have I'm going to piggyback off of what Alec just asked, and it's a clear incentive model for the providers, right? But I think anything that requires a consumer to adhere to, whether it's medication regimen or whether it's utilizing an app, there's usually, I find, a carrot and or stick model that works in healthcare. So, what do the care managers do to ensure that customers or the consumers are going to stay on track, with using this app? Like, what's the customer's motivation, given that they're the ones that are at risk? for relapse?
Yeah, so we did a lot of customer discovery, and both through when we did our clinical studies and also in separate user experience research projects. And we found that the clinical wearable that we had been using previously was not as appealing as the smartwatches. So we did a wearables comparison study that was funded in part by Carnegie Mellon University. And we learned that these smartwatches not only provide sensors that we need, but they're very appealing and desirable for the people in recovery. And so in addition to all the benefits that people enjoy from their smartwatches, with our application, we make everything very easy to use with short surveys, gamification. Everything is very user-friendly, and it helps people do things more easily that they're already doing. They're already going to appointments, but they have the application that helps to manage that. They have reminders. They have an easy way to connect to their support network. So keeping track of sleep, people actually reported enjoying those elements. And so we're making it easier for them to do that. And additionally, studies have shown that people who stay in care longer have better outcomes. And so all of these means to keep people in care longer are improving people's chances for recovery and improving their outcomes. And it's something they enjoy. And we definitely use the carrot method. We're all about positive behavior change and creating more joy.
Perfect. So does it then, is this something, the wearable, is it something that is reimbursable, like as a durable medical equipment because it's being used at home?
So we're actually exploring that now. The CEO of this the national chain that serves tens of thousands of patients across the country is actually working with us to develop a reimbursement strategy. And so after we complete our pilots, where we're going to gather a lot of additional great data with our new clinical dashboard, we're going to take that to the insurance company and go from there. And he feels very confident in this plan. We have a great contract, a customer contract that has given us confidence that this reimbursement will actually happen much sooner than we anticipated. But as far as the strategy, I think there are a couple options that we're looking at. And again, the CEO of that center who does this every day, they primarily have the Medicaid patient. So this is something that he feels confident about. And so we're really excited about that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, judges. And of course, thank you again, Ellie. So moving on, we've only got 2 startups left. And so definitely excited to hear from these final 2. Up next, we have Dr. Tal Rafki. He is the CEO and founder of ScaleMed. So please join me in welcoming him to our virtual stage.
Hi, we at ScaleMed reinvent prescriptions. We enable for the first time doctors to send a prescription directly to a patient's phone, putting the patient back in control of their prescription and creating a unique way with which to access and support patients while they're managing the most frequent thing they will do in healthcare, namely their prescriptions. So as a physician, as an ex-pharmaceutical exec, and as someone who's been in healthcare for over 20 years, our prescription system, trust me, is broken. Today, it doesn't make any sense, but today we send prescriptions from a doctor to a pharmacy, essentially bypassing the patients and sidelining them, making them confused about, did they make the right decision about their pharmacy? We burden the doctor with having to decide which is the right pharmacy. And we get surprised that patients drop off their meds, or by 6 months, less than 50% are taking them, causing a $500 billion impact. And that process of a prescription today means that we actually can't get access to be able to support a patient with their medications. And we at ScaleMed said it's time to reinvent prescriptions. We make prescriptions smart and put the patients back in control. And we do so by, next time you go to the doctor, instead of the doctor sending a prescription to a Walgreens on Main Street, they can now send it to you directly from their EMR with no integration. Within a second, the patient gets a text they click on the link and they open up their prescriptions on their phone, where for the first time we can educate them what the medicine's for. We warn them if they shouldn't have been prescribed it, and we can show them their pricing, GoodRx, or their insurance pricing, so they can find their lowest cost pharmacy. Within 3 clicks, they can send their prescription to any pharmacy of their choice across the US, including Amazon. And not just that, we also can see what the patient did with their prescription. Did they fill it? Are they out of refills? And do they need support? And we can link them back into care. A plug and play solution means that we can plug our solution inside any of those health apps inside the market. It's a massive market out there. There are over 318,000 health apps, and we enable all of them to connect with patients via their prescriptions. The 3 major foci for us are, number 1, payers and PBMs. They're looking for a digital front door with which to engage their patients, drive down pharmacy costs, and show patients in real time, directing them to an in-network pharmacy or an on-formulary medicine. Digital health companies are looking for new and unique ways to keep patients in their platform. An example is a telemedicine company wanting to ensure that patients remain inside their platform after the prescription. And finally, insurance pharmaceutical companies want to create a red carpet service, especially in specialty meds, to ensure that patients can access and stay on therapy. Our product is incredibly well tested with thousands of patients across 22 sites in Texas, proving out that patients love it and they are engaging with it. We've got a patent on our platform. Today, over the last few months, we've signed a bunch of licenses across all of those verticals. Across digital pharmacies, virtual primary care, the largest PBM, the largest wholesaler in the country, and also got pilots soon to start at the Mayo Clinic. And you can see some of our logos that we're partnering with on the left. It's a SaaS B2B, pay per prescription, which creates an immense amount of opportunity for the 4.3 billion prescriptions that are currently flowing in the US today. Our team are incredibly experienced. We've been in healthcare for a long period of time, launched and exited successfully from numerous startups, and some of the companies that we've worked for, partnered with, or advisors with are on the right-hand side. We're raising a $5 million round with really which we can focus on sales and marketing and continue to develop our software and product. ScalaMed have essentially reinvented a prescription as a true gateway with which to access and influence a patient while they're doing the most frequent thing that they can be doing in managing their healthcare. Thanks for the opportunity, and I now open up to some questions.
Thanks so much, Tal. Let's head over to the judges. Maybe Nehal, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you, Tal. That's fascinating, the whole the workflow. So I had one big question. From what I understand of the workflow, the doctor sends the prescription to the consumer or the patient, and the patient selects one of several pharmacies and sends that prescription to the pharmacy, right? So how do you ensure that there is no abuse of that simple workflow? So for example, if somebody has a prescription for a pain med or an opioid, how do you ensure, or how does the system ensure that the patient's not going to send it to 4 pharmacies and pick all of those 4 prescriptions up?
Yeah, I mean, there is no way that you can abuse a medicine. There's only one prescription ever sent. Really, the experience for the patient is as if they're receiving the prescription, but really they're all completely secured, one-use only prescriptions that cannot be sent to any one pharmacy. So unlike a piece of paper, which to your point, you could copy and send elsewhere, the platform only enables one prescription to ever exist, and they cannot be abused. The nice thing here as well is we also get visibility on what the patient did with the prescription in real time. So if the patient has sent it somewhere, they can't pick it up, it's all being monitored and observed. So it's completely secure and there is no risk of abuse.
So is your ideal customer then, the patient, or is it the pharmacy benefit, kind of management group that is managing sort of that entire workflow?
So really, for us in healthcare, you've really got to kind of make sure that everyone's benefiting. And what we wanted to create was a solution that works for everyone. For the patient, it's obvious, right? Give a patient control, let them reduce the risk of medication and the cost of it, and enable them to have a portable, flexible prescription that goes with them wherever they want. Because a prescription at the end of the day is is essentially a license for you to procure. And it just makes sense that that sits with you rather than being locked in a pharmacy. But really our customers at the end of the day are anyone who has the app. So anyone, whether you're a PBM and payer and you're looking to bring the patients to your digital orbit so you can observe them, support them and drive down pharmacy costs, they're our customer. If you're a pharmaceutical manufacturer and your patient's being prescribed an expensive drug that is challenging for them to actually get on, we support that process with a red carpet experience. And if you're a large hospital system and you want to keep patients in your digital orbit because you're moving to value-based care, again, they're our customer. So we have these diverse customers, but they're all aligned with this idea of the holy grail of healthcare in 2021 is the patient. And by piggybacking off a prescription, there's a reason why a patient will come back to those our customers' apps again and again, because their prescriptions are stored there. And so every month, that's the access opportunity to then access and ultimately influence an outcome.
Cool. Thank you.
I could probably ask you about this value chain for like 8 hours because it's super interesting in my perspective. And so I think I'm going to start in a very similar vein that Nehal did. Like I completely understand the incentive structure for a lot of these different stakeholders. At least it's intuitive. It seems like the one person that always has to be on board is the doctor who's making the prescription. And is that the right way to think about it? That like the doctor always has to be an advocate for ScalaMed?
So the answer is no, that's actually incorrect. At the end of the day, there's a patient and a doctor sitting in a room. And it doesn't matter which doctor or which clinic you go to, you're always going to be asked for three things, right? Your cell number, your insurance, and what is your pharmacy? And so the patient today goes in there without any knowledge and says, well, I think the Walgreens near my house is probably the best option, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's going to be the cheapest or if that's the best, or if it's open at midnight. I don't know, but just send it there because that's where I always send it. So today, for the doctor, every time a patient says a name of the pharmacy, they go into their software, they type in CVS, and 15,000 come up, and they need to scroll through them to find that. When the patient says, look, send it to ScalaMed, doctor's like, never heard of it, but that works, I'll send it to you, and the patient gets a text. So there's no absolutely necessary need for that. That said, there's a huge value prop for doctors. The number one reason patients call a doctor's office after an appointment is because, hey, doc, I'm at the pharmacy, the prescription never arrived, or pharmacy's closed, out of stock, price is wrong, I'm traveling, it's COVID, I can't get there, blah, blah, blah. And so for them, the ability to offload the burden of that and say, listen, patients, like we love, as a doctor, we love paper because you can give a patient a prescription and out they go. This is giving a patient a smart prescription that you know is going to help hold their hand through that process. And so there's value for everybody. But yes, the doctor can either encourage the patient or the patient can request it, depending on who is supporting that process.
Great. No, it makes sense. And then are there, what are the limitations to what you can do with this permissioned patient or this patient data? Is it as much as they permission you to do, or, how do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's as much as they permission us. And what's amazing to our opportunity now is there is a whole lot of legislation being rolled out, which is mandating patients have access to their data, etc. Yeah. And so ScalaMed creates an opportunity at the top of the value. Here's your prescription. Let's connect to the rest of your healthcare data so we can make it even smarter. What's your genomics? What's your other labs? And as we do that, we make this prescription so smart and customized that at the end of the day, we're going to truly be able to create the most customized medication for you today, based on your conditions, based on your insurance, and based on what it is you need now. And sometimes that also means us saying, whoa, you don't need this medicine. All you need to do is cut out some salt out of your diet, for example. So that's where we're going. And this ability to access the patient is just such a unique feature that no one else is doing in the market today that we're super excited about. And we love everyone's support in helping us get there.
And I'm sure I'm over time, but if there was one data point that represented the traction you have, what would that be?
100% of patients that get prescribed a prescription with ScalaMed are known to us. And so, today, a lot of people, when a doctor sends a prescription to a pharmacy, you have no idea what really happened. Did they pick it up? Did they use a coupon? Did they not? Today, we see every single prescription. We capture every single patient. We intercept them at the top of that cascade so we can work out what's going on, what support they need to give them the best possible personalized experience around their meds.
Thanks a lot. Sorry for running over.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tal. Thank you, judges. I just want to give a quick announcement to our audience that it is your last chance to vote for the audience winner. And it is also your last chance to be entered to win a free Passport membership. So head down to the bottom of your screen and please rate each company. And without further ado, last but certainly not least, please join me in welcoming Sean Higgins, CEO of Better You, to the stage.
I'm Sean, CEO of Better You. Better You is a digital coach that helps people find more time in the day for their health. And in order to be any good at this, we have to have a good sense of how folks are spending their time. Thankfully, the answer to that question hasn't changed much over the last 13 years. Dating back to 2007, 32% of our day was on devices. And while that number has tripled over the last 13 years here, our satisfaction with how we spent that time, it's actually gone down. Today we spend 3 times the amount of our day on device on things that make us feel less productive and less happy. It's a race to the bottom for our attention, for our time. At Better You, we've created a race to the top. We help people find more time in the day by measuring how they're spending it currently, linking that to specific goals they care about, and delivering real-time reminders when folks fall off track. Let's take a look. So this is Better You. You come right in and set up a few goals that matter. Maybe it's all about getting a good night's sleep tonight. Maybe it's just about staying connected with the people in your world that are most important. From here, the app works in the background to automatically log your progress, because my phone can give me credit for calling mom this week or for visiting that gym near my house. We leverage this insight to provide real-time redirection. So the next time I'm at risk of missing that phone call to mom and dad over a little too much YouTube, Better You's there to bring me back on track. This is what we do. So how big does this get? At Better You, we target a $5.2 billion addressable market composed of schools and organizations. We help both of these groups improve health outcomes for their teams downstream. We charge $3 per person per month. And today, we work with over 70 customers, including H&R Block, Amway, and Michigan State. But more than our logos, it's about our stories. Over the last year, we help people change their pandemic, find time for new health and better habits, and ultimately become a more balanced version of themselves. And we did it by taking the part of wellness apps that people hate, manual entry, and making it automatic. When you make something that simple, people use it. In a category riddled with poor retention numbers, we built a product that over 30% of people who touch still use 4 times a month, 6 months after installing the app. This number is 8% for our competitors at 90 days. When we started, we had to put together a great team and build a product. We went to market just about 20 months ago. And while our revenue started off small, I'm thrilled to share that as of today, we're at over $44,000 in monthly recurring revenues. And so now you might be wondering just who the heck we are. We're a group of founders who have taken companies from idea to acquisition, PhDs from Ivy League institutions, developers, operators who have built great businesses. But more than that, we're a group with a shared vision. 90% of our day wound up on device last year. And that's really scary, but it's also an opportunity. What better way to help someone be the person they want to see in the mirror tomorrow than by helping them make the most of their time today? Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sean. Let's head over to our judges. Alec, how about you kick us off?
Oh, sure. Sean, great to see about Better You. I mean, I'm going to ask, I think it's probably a very pedantic question, but it's the one that I always come up with whenever I see things relatively in the space, which is I have seen so many habit forming, wellness applications throughout the years. Most of them have had kind of cool moments of delight, but just very, very few, other than like the Calms of the world and the Headspaces of the world, have really found sticky adoption. What do you think your secret sauce is that's going to make you the one that kind of...
Absolutely, Alec. When you think about behavior, you've got three key ingredients: motivation, ability, and trigger. Those usually go into most times we make a choice, whether it's me to drink this glass of water or to take a pill from a prescription. Most folks in our space focus on M in that equation, motivation. They're trying to create those moments of delight. Let's get you really excited. Let's leverage rewards and incentives. That hasn't worked. If you're trying to get someone to do something that they don't already want to do, you're really looking at a one-time action, not a behavior, not a habit. And since we focus on habit, we have to focus on ability. We have to make it easier. We have to help you do something you already want to do. And so most people don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go enter all of my food logs for the day, or I'm going to go and write down all the times I call my friends. And so for us, it's about taking those parts of the process and making it automatic. It's as easy as it's going to get. And so we are really pushing on the ability button there.
No, that's great. It certainly makes sense about kind of making that a seamless experience and data logging. One curiosity I have is, there just about every business, every app, every solution out there is trying to get people to do something. Often things that they don't want to do.
Sure.
What is the long-term vision about this big, an API for behavior, or a solution that other people can leverage to help their users create the behaviors or activities that they...
Great question. We have actually an initial relationship with Blue Cross Blue Shield, a regional Blue, that they're looking to power their app using some of our technology in that exact way. They see us as really this API for engagement. They look at our long-term numbers and they say, we want to be able to do that. We want to be able to deliver messages based on context, that nudge when you're going for that third YouTube video, it's time to do something else, hitting people at those key moments. For us, we have to be very careful. We're never going to be a messaging app for a company-wide announcement or anything like that. But if health is a goal that you have, certainly we can help power those experiences to help you find a little more time for it.
Great.
Yeah. Nehal.
Alec asked exactly the two questions I was going to ask. So I'm done. No. So I'm going to ask about the product market fit. So you talked about the Blues, right? And kind of making this available potentially to the Blues or health insurance companies that already have some sort of a platform that is pushing, I know with the Blues is a healthy high five or something. Yeah. That's what they call it, right? So how, is that where you're going to see the most bang for your buck, or is there a different product market kind of fit that you think you're going to be able to find that's going to let you stand out? To Alex's earlier point, there's so many coaching and kind of habit forming apps and things like that with the intervention. So where do you see that fit letting you stand out based on what you have right now?
Absolutely. Getting kind of to that bang to the buck component, we certainly do very well in enterprise, right? We've got folks that have good engagement. We can charge even on a per engagement or a per member per month model, and we do very well there from a lifetime value to customer acquisition cost perspective. When I think about how we get maximum scale, because that's the goal for me, having done other companies, having been acquired, the goal is to try to get this into the hands of as many people as possible. And through that, the payers are a huge part of the puzzle in that method we mentioned earlier, really being this API for engagement. Think about the last time you hopped in an Uber or a Lyft, right? Mm-hmm. Did you think, oh, I'm using Twilio's Messenger right here? Probably not. But they got their experience into your hands through those partners. I see us operating in exactly that same way.
Okay, so you'd be the powered by the Intel Insight type of model, right?
It worked out for Google,
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Sean. And with that, we have heard from each of our founders, and now our judges have their work cut out for them. So thank you again to all of our founders for joining us today. I know that I speak for everyone at One Valley when I say that we were all thoroughly impressed, and we truly look forward to seeing what the future holds for all of you. We're going to take a few moments to tally up the scores, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited to say that we have our winners. I know that you all have been waiting with bated breath. So without further ado, the winner of tonight's audience participation prize, which is an annual Passport membership, goes to Shay Smith, the COO of Novel Work. So congratulations, Shay. Please reach out to our team after the event, and we will get you your free Passport account. And as a quick reminder to the audience, if you do not already have a Passport account, please use the code HEALTHY25 for 25% off of your premium Passport membership. There's a button at the bottom left of your screen that should take you there. And so with that, I would like to ask that all of our presenting companies please actually go ahead and turn on your video. We're going to announce the winners momentarily. All right, I see everyone. So first, I'm going to kick it off and go ahead and announce our audience choice. So this was the team that was chosen by our audience today. The winner will be walking away today with a $500 cash prize and a free Passport membership. So the winner of our audience choice is Scalamed. So congratulations to Tal and the rest of the team. Is there anything, Tal, you'd like to leave the audience with?
No, I appreciate that. That's really kind. And I think it reflects the fact that, I guess as patients, we all find healthcare confusing, even when we've been living it for 20-something years. And so I think, taking back control is something we'd love to be part of, and we'd love you to be part of. So it will soon be available in every doctor's office. So over the next few months, next time you head to your doctor, just ask for your prescription to be sent to you. Ask for it to be sent to Scalamed, and we look forward to journeying with you on this.
Wonderful. Congratulations again, Tal, and to the rest of your team as well.
Thank you.
And the winner of tonight's competition will be walking away with a $2,000 cash prize. Our grand prize winner is Pulse Protocol. So congratulations, Robert, and the rest of your team. Robert, is there anything that you would also like to leave the audience with this evening? Oh, you're on mute.
There's a tip. Always keep your thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I wasn't expecting that. There were so many impressive companies here today. So everyone is building some amazing businesses. The one thing I would leave, which I always tell people, and I think this is really important, and this is something that was represented with my father's journey, is don't shop for healthcare exclusively in your zip code. If you live here in like I'm in LA, if you go into Cedars-Sinai and you're given a very unfortunate diagnosis, if you go down the street and go to UCLA, you're more likely to get a very similar diagnosis and treatment suggestion. The doctors have gone to the same universities, they attend the same schools, they live within the same governing, regulating body. But if you were to look outside of your jurisdiction, you'll find there's amazing solutions that doctors are doing in different parts of the world that can solve a problem such as cancer or something else. So that's the one thing I'd leave.
Thanks so much, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you again, of course, to all of our presenting companies. It's been a joy watching you present, and we look forward to having you back on our stage again soon. And that concludes our evening. I want to just take a quick moment to thank our amazing audience and to remind you that you can connect with any of the startups featured today via the Meet the Startups tab at the top of the page. And then on behalf of myself and of all of One Valley, I want to thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you again to all of our founders and to our judges. Our next pitch night is coming up on September 28th, so mark your calendars and look out for some more information on that event as well. Hope to see you there. Have a good night. Take care, everyone.